Now you guys can see there's little whitening around the pupillary margin. That's pseudoexfoliation material. That's a sign to me to be very careful. And it means that I know that there's a potential for loose zonules. Now, as I recall last week, we also used the Malayugan.
You would like to do that now?
I'm going to tell you in a second.
Okay.
Now, and I think you can now begin to see the edges of the. When we dilate it, you can see pseudoexfoliation material down here very nicely. I'll show you a good view of that once we get it open. So the pupil in pseudoexfoliation tends to be a little more rigid. Doesn't dilate quite as well. And I think right here, if you'll focus, right there, you can see the whitening in the material of the Pseudoex on the lens, and there's material right along that inferior margin right there. What was it? A little bit of this much. Nice, 2-2. With pseudoexfoliation, I always like to start with the cystotome because it gives me a clue as to the weakness. I'll be looking for movement. You see the lens moving there, everybody? So that tells me that we, in all likelihood, will definitely need a capsular tension ring. Also makes me change my technique very slightly. Now, if everybody look on TV, can you see the wrinkling that's happening in front of that?
Yes, in front of the pole.
Front of the pole?
Yeah.
That's a sign that there's a zonular weakness. So I am going to take my time on this rhexis. How are we? Is it good?
Yep.
And I want a nice size rhexis, and again you can really get the clue to the weakness as I rotate around, and I'll grab more frequently on these than I would because I don't want to put any stress on the system. How's that?
Yep.
Then you see as it goes around nicely. Good. So now the whole goal is to decrease the amount of zonular stress. So hydrodissection is critical. So we go in, we go right over here, just under the capsule. Nice wave. Very gentle. Slow motions. These are all slow motion maneuvers. Now I'll be looking for the nucleus to come forward. You can see it come. Watch it come up. Now I'm going to be less aggressive about turning, so I just want to make sure that there's, because I don't want to put any stress on the zonule, so I'm just going to do a gentle motion to make sure that we have some degree of movement. Yep, we do, so we're okay. Now, so I'm going to, look, yeah, that's right. Keep looking, let's see. So the motion that I'm doing is I'm going very slowly in to the nuclear material, and I'm going to spread it, and then I can go out a little bit further. You see a nice even spread there. Now what that also does is it frees up the nuclear material, and I'll try, but not very aggressively, to make a slow motion rotation here. And the second thing we're going to do, and if I can get it into quadrants, I'll be very happy. If I can't, I'm not going to worry about it. Great. Good. Drop the bottle. So first thing I'm going to do is drop the bottle height to 80 so that I don't have any stress on the zonules from fluid waves. I know you were... Let's get enough so we can visualize. Am I good focus?
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to use a little energy here because I don't want the nucleus to move. And I'm not sure, of course, how strong everything is. So, Janelle, look up for me. So the first thing I'm going to do is check if I see that that's free. So I'm going to bury that tip, and I'm not going to lift up. I'm bringing it towards the center. And then once I get it where I want it, safe, and I activate. Janelle, I need you to look up just a little. But I think you guys can see the tip is just to the edge, so nothing's going to come forward. Now, just simple maneuver, go to back, bring that up. No movement of the handpiece. Everything comes to me. Sometimes I can just bring these right up without any rotation. Again, I love to do that in these Pseudoexes because I don't have to rotate. And the nuclear tip is just, you can see it's not a super soft cataract either. I mean, it's not a rock hard luminescent, but it's, get this piece. Now there is epinuclear bowl material there, but again, because of the Pseudoex and the weaknesses, I don't go with it after it with a phaco tip. So we go in. Now we see all this beautiful cortex material. The hardest part to get is this part right over here, so I try to get it first. And here. All right. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to minimize the amount of pulling that I'm doing to the center. I'm letting the machine do most of the work. You see, I'm not moving a whole lot, and yet the machine is beautifully picking up this material. And over here. Now you guys can really see here, I think. I'll give you a better view of it here in just a second.
The lens.
And the CTR?
The wavefront lens 18 diopter.
Now, notice that as I'm going across here, look at the posterior capsule. See, it's coming up at me. That's just a sign of the zonular laxity. So we're doing the last little bit is the most dangerous, and the time you need to be the calmest and have the best control. See how floppy that is? Now go to polish for me.
Polish.
And if I can, I'm going to get this to lift up back here, but I'm not going to be real. Look at that. There we go. Now go back to cortex for me. Got it. we know that the zonules are weak. We saw the nucleus move slightly, but it was stable during surgery, so I didn't feel like I needed to add it at any particular time before though. And what I like to do is so much easier to get the nucleus. You got the whole, it's in there. I'll need another one. There are a bunch of different ways of putting these in, and I really do like to use an injector, but ours had to go back for, all three of ours had to go back. So I'll just do this manually. I'll just slowly slip this in. And you can see the stretch marks there, which shows you, again, the weakness. And I'll take that push-pull from the yeah, that's perfect. And then this way I can direct it. And again, this allows me to just have some control over the positioning of the ring. I'll need a Sinski here in just a minute. During this phase, you shouldn't feel any tension on the system. Good. Sinski. And I can just deposit it. Another push-pull would have been nice, but the Sinski is usually pretty easy to get it into it and then just deposit it in. There we go. So now we're safe, and this SNWF lens is so nice to use in this situation because it unfolds just sort of perfectly. Get the direction, get it into the bag very easily. So I'm going to rotate just a little bit so that it goes in, and then I'll just deposit it once that elbow's in. BSS, please. So this is in the bag, this is opening up, and we'll just deposit it very easily into the capsular bag. Let it open up. You can force that out there if you want. Now the one thing we can't be is super aggressive in we have the Steiner gauge 2.2 in getting out the viscoelastic under the under the lens, because there's too much risk. 2.2. So you see it's less than 2.2. And also, I think an important thing to notice with all the question coming up, no wound burn. Last little bit, we're doing great. So Mike, would you give her some Diamox? Again, you can see the nice internal wound there, and I can push it. Good, all done.